Imagine waking up tomorrow and every word you know has gone. Not just forgotten, gone. Your entire vocabulary erased. Every name, every noun, every verb, every way of asking for what you need or describing what you feel. You still need to eat. You still need water. You still need to warn the person standing next to you that something is coming through the trees. But you cannot say a single word. Now imagine living your entire life that way. Your children's lives, your grandchildren's lives, generation after generation after generation. This was the reality of human existence for almost 2 million years. We think of language as the thing that makes us human. But language, spoken, structured, grammatical language, and is one of the newest things about us. Modern humans have had something resembling spoken language for roughly 100,000 years. Some researchers put the number lower, some higher. The fossil record cannot tell us exactly when the first word was spoken, because words leave no bones. What the fossil record can tell us is this. The human lineage goes back roughly 2 million years to Homo habilis. The first stone tools appear around the same time. The first controlled use of fire appears around 1 million years ago. The first evidence of deliberate burial, suggesting symbolic thinking, appears around 300,000 years ago. Language, in its full modern form, probably emerged somewhere between 100,000 and 50,000 years ago. That means for at least 9 million years, our ancestors lived without it. So what did they actually do all day? The answer begins before sunrise. Early human groups woke with the light. There was no choice. Darkness was dangerous. Predators that could see in low light, leopards, hyenas, saber-toothed cats, were most active at night. The group slept together for warmth and protection. Someone was always awake. Vigilance was not a choice. It was survival. The first task of every morning was fire. Fire was the most valuable resource a group possessed. Keeping an ember alive through the night required skill and attention. If the fire died, the group faced two options. Find a neighboring group willing to share an ember, which required negotiation, trust and risk, or create fire from scratch using friction, a process that takes anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour even for skilled practitioners, and fails completely in wet conditions. This is why firekeeping was likely one of the most important social roles in early human groups, not the hunter, not the leader, the firekeeper. While fire was maintained, others began the day's foraging. And here is where the picture becomes more sophisticated than most people imagine. Foraging was not random wandering. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer societies, the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of the Kalahari, the Martu of Australia, provide our closest living window into ancient human life. What these studies consistently show is that foraging is highly organized, deeply skilled, and completely systematic. Different members of a group specialize in different food sources. Some become expert trackers of large game. Some develop encyclopedic knowledge of plant foods, which roots are edible in which season, which berries are safe, which plants have medicinal properties. Some specialize in aquatic resources, fish, shellfish, water plants. This specialization develops over years of observation and practice. It is passed between generations not through written text or spoken instruction, but through demonstration. A child watches an adult. The adult shows. The child imitates. The adult corrects through gesture and expression. The knowledge transfers without a single word being spoken. Anthropologist Kim Sterelny at the Australian National University calls this apprentice learning. He argues it was the primary mechanism of knowledge transmission in ancient human groups, and that it was extraordinarily effective. The stone tool traditions of early humans were so stable and consistent across thousands of generations that they could only have been maintained through careful, deliberate, systematic teaching. Without language, think about what that means. A parent teaching a child to knap a flint, to strike stone against stone at exactly the right angle to produce a sharp edge, without being able to say a word. Only showing, only demonstrating, only watching and correcting with gesture and expression. And it worked. For 2 million years it worked. Now think about the social complexity this required. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar at Oxford University proposed what is now called the social brain hypothesis. He argued that the human brain did not grow large, primarily to solve physical problems, to make better tools or track animals more effectively. It grew large to manage social relationships, to remember who was allied with whom, who owed a favor, who could be trusted in a crisis, who had a history of deception, who was a skilled forager and worth following, who was aggressive and worth avoiding. In other words, the primary challenge of ancient human life was not the mammoth outside the cave. It was the person standing next to you inside it. Managing a group of 20 to 50 individuals. Dunbar's research suggests This was the typical ancient band size. Requires tracking a vast network of relationships. Who is angry at whom? Who is grieving? Who is dominant? Who is building alliances? Who is being excluded? And all of this social intelligence was operating without language. Corballis argued that pointing was the seed from which all language grew. Point at the thing, then mime what it does, then develop a gesture that represents it symbolically. Then gradually, as the vocal apparatus evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, this is why humans are the only species that instinctively gesture while speaking. Ancient humans communicated through sound. Not words, vocalizations, emotional sounds, warning calls, contact calls, comfort sounds. Research on vocalizations in modern hunter-gatherer societies and in great apes suggests that ancient human vocal communication was rich with tonal meaning. A high, sharp sound communicating alarm, a low, sustained sound communicating comfort, rising tones communicating question or uncertainty, falling tones communicating resolution or safety. These tonal systems are still active in every human language today. The music of speech, what linguists call prosody, carries emotional information, independently of the words used. You know someone is angry before you process what they are saying. You know someone is frightened before you understand the content of their warning. This ancient tonal layer of communication is still running, beneath modern language like the original operating system beneath updated software. So what did a typical day actually look like for ancient humans? Dawn, fire maintenance. The group stirs. Mothers with infants tend to them, feeding, grooming, physical contact that builds the attachment bonds essential for infant survival. Older children watch, play, practice. Play in early human children was not frivolous. It was rehearsal. Children played at hunting, at tracking, at tool making. The skills needed for adult survival were rehearsed through play from the earliest age. Mid-morning, foraging parties leave. They do not leave randomly. There are decisions being made. Which direction today? Based on weather, season, recent sightings, remembered patterns. These decisions are made through gesture, expression, and the kind of silent consensus that tight social groups develop over years of shared experience. Someone leads, others follow or redirect. The direction is negotiated without words. Tracking is perhaps the most intellectually demanding activity. Ancient humans performed regularly. Reading a track is a depression in soil, a broken twig, a disturbance in grass, and constructing from it a complete picture of an animal's movement. Speed, size, and likely direction requires extraordinary powers of observation, inference, and memory. Louis Liebenberg, a researcher who has studied tracking among the San people of the Kalahari, argues that tracking is hypothetical thinking, constructing an invisible reality from visible clues. He argues it may have been the cognitive foundation from which abstract reasoning evolved. In other words, ancient humans may have developed the capacity for complex thought not by sitting around philosophizing, but by following animals across the savannah. Afternoon, the group returns. Food is distributed. This is a critical social moment. In modern hunter-gatherer societies, food sharing is governed by complex social norms. The successful hunter does not keep what they caught. They share it according to rules of kinship, reciprocity, and obligation. These rules maintain group cohesion and ensure that bad luck, an unsuccessful hunt, does not mean starvation for any individual. All of this social negotiation, who gets what, in what quantity, in what order, was managed without language, through established patterns, through social pressure, through the kind of silent enforcement that close groups develop over time. Evening, the fire. This is perhaps the most important part of the ancient human day, and the most overlooked. Researchers Polly Wiesner and others, studying modern hunter-gatherer societies, have found a striking difference between daytime conversation and evening conversation around the fire. In the day, people talk about practical things, resources, tasks, directions. In the evening, around the fire, they tell stories. For ancient humans, there were no stories in words, but there was something else. Performance. Mime. Reenactment of the day's hunt. Acted out for the group. Sound making, rhythmic percussion, vocal toning that may have been the earliest form of music. Physical dance that encoded information about landscapes and animals and movement patterns. The whole group could read. The firelight evening was not just rest. It was the moment when knowledge was transmitted, when the day's experiences were processed and shared, when social bonds were reinforced, when the young learned from the old through watching and imitating. It was education, entertainment, religion, therapy, community, all happening without a single word. And here is the thing that should stop you. Right now, in the 21st century, the most powerful moments of human connection still happen without words. When you hold someone who is grieving and say nothing. When you and another person make eye contact across a room and both understand something completely. When music moves you before you have processed a single lyric. When you know someone is lying before you can explain how you know. These are not failures of language. These are moments when the older system, the one that ran for 2 million years before the first word was spoken, comes back online. Language did not replace that system. It was built on top of it, and the foundation has never stopped working.